Well, thanks to karma and my genes, I just had my 78th birthday. We've been retired since I was 55, or at least semi-retired. We've frequently been asked, how were we able to retire so early? Especially today, one asks the question, how can we retire at all, let alone retire early? The only way most of us can do this is to increase our bottom line. That will give us enough money so that we could live on during our retirement. The thing to keep in mind is that the bottom line can be affected by at least two things. One is we can make more money. That's not so easy anymore. The second is, and maybe it's the one that we forget about, but maybe the most important one, is to spend less. So the secret word to our retirement early is frugality. We never made a huge income. I was a computer programmer. Pikun taught Thai to Americans. We had two boys, sent them to college. Luckily, they were able to graduate without any student loans, but that was when college was affordable. Today might be a different story. Living frugally. Here we're going to give you a list of 10 things that we did to save $500,000, our early retirement nest egg, simply by using the secret word, frugality. One of those things was as easy as going to Taco Bell, an American pseudo-Mexican restaurant that we love. The other variable, maybe the most important one, was time. We lived our frugal lifestyle over a span of 30 years. So every dollar saved is multiplied by how many times a year we made the savings and multiply that by 30. Please note, the numbers given here are for the 1990s. That's when we were saving for retirement. You can substitute today's numbers. The amounts will be different, but the savings will still get you on the way to retirement. By the way, if you're wondering where the 30 years comes from, we started when we were married. I was age 25. Add 30 to that, and that's 55. And that's when we retired. So that's where the 30 years comes from. My children went to really good state colleges close to home instead of expensive colleges, private universities. The difference in cost can be huge. One went to the University of Washington in Seattle. And the other to the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. Both are really highly rated universities. The boys got great educations, and they've served them well in their future and current careers. At the time, the difference between a state college and a private university was about $15,000 per year. Much, much more today, I'm sorry to say. I just did a Google search, and the Google machine tells me that the average cost today for tuition at a private college is about $42,000, and at a state college, it's $11,000. Two people per year times 4, you can do the math. Because the children went to local colleges, they were able to live at home. That saved a lot of money. But we agreed that if they wanted to move out and live on their own in off-campus housings, they would have to find jobs to pay for their own expenses. They both very willingly did this by the time they were juniors. This had the added benefit of helping them get away from mom and dad's rules and to learn independence earlier than they would have. The cost of campus housing and or renting back then was about $10,000 a year. In our 30 years, we never bought a car that was less than 4 years old. We bought used cars. We made sure we checked and made sure we had a good used car. We didn't want to have any extra repair bills. And in all those years, we always had two cars. One of the things I used to say was, my old car is 13 years old, and my new car is also 13 years old. Because we bought affordable used cars, we never had to take out a car loan or pay interest on those loans. Over the 30 years, we bought 3 cars each, for a total of 6 cars. The difference between a new car and one of our used cars was about $15,000 each. Because we bought older cars, we never needed to buy full insurance. All we needed was the minimal liability insurance, not full coverage. I mean, if you wanted to steal my car, go ahead. But no one ever did. They always stole our neighbor's car, the new one. The difference between the insurance for a new car, full insurance, and the kind we had, minimal liability insurance, was maybe about $100 a month. Well, that's 12 payments a year for 30 years. It's amazing how much you can save by paying a little extra each month on a 30-year mortgage. My mortgage was $750 per month. Remember, this was the 90s and we had a tiny, tiny house. We paid the mortgage off 15 years early. And by doing that, we saved $135,000 in mortgage payments. To see how much we saved, we need to subtract the $80,000 that we paid in the extra payments. Over the years, we went on many nice vacations: Mexico, Costa Rica, Hawaii, Italy. But most years, we would take car camping trips around the country. It's difficult to be closer as a family than for all of us to sleep together in a nice Coleman 4-person tent. We also saved a lot of money by doing that. The difference between going on a big vacation, that people like to do, and car camping, or just staying home, we figured was about $1,750. And we did the car camping instead of the big vacations for about 20 years. A simple way to save a bunch of money over the long run is if you have really tasty leftovers that you can take to work for lunch. Luckily, Pikun made really good dinners that I could pack up and take to lunch the next morning. We occasionally ate out with our coworkers, but we usually made use of the most important office equipment, the microwave. The average savings at lunchtime was about $5, and my food was much better than what I could have gotten outside. There are about 200 working days a year, and I took my lunch to work for 30 years. Also, we eschewed having that mid-morning Starbucks. At the time, that was a $5 expense to be avoided. Pikun worked really hard at learning how to cut our hair. and she became quite skilled. By the way, if you want to try it, there are lots of YouTube videos out there which will show you how. I also learned how to trim her hair. By the way, we still cut our hair together. Back then, a haircut cost maybe $10. I'm sure you can pay lots more if you want. Pikun and I cut our own hair for 30 years, for an average savings of over $8,000. And we cut the boys' hair for 20 years, for a savings of about $6,000. Check out my picture. I think she still does a pretty great job. When my first son was born, I decided to give up alcohol. That was a personal decision. It saved me lots of grief, but it also saved me lots of money over the years, not to mention the health benefits. On a normal week back then, on a non-holiday, non-football, non-boys out week, I would buy at least 3 six-packs of beer. At then, a six-pack, or cheap six-pack, the kind I liked, was about $3. For 52 weeks, for 30 years, the savings added up. Also, my health benefits added up. Remember Netflix DVD rentals that we used to get in the mail? Well, we made a big use of them. Instead of going out and spending lots of money to a theater for 4 of us, popcorn, we'd rent a video, stay at home, make our own popcorn at home. That saved us lots of money. We figure it saved us at least $15 a shot. For 4 people, for 20 years, that's a lot of money. I also biked to work, or I took the bus. That saved a lot of money too. Parking was about a couple of dollars, and I figure the bus fare and gas cost was about the same. I did this for 200 working days a year for 10 years. Saved a lot on gas, and it saved a lot on parking. Remember I mentioned Taco Bell? Well, eating out is a big deal for lots of families. They like to go to nice restaurants. Our favorite restaurant was Taco Bell. It's an American fast food, pseudo-Mexican joint. A lot of people make fun of it. It's very inexpensive, and we really enjoyed the food. I wish there was a Taco Bell here. There's one in Bangkok, but not up here in Chiang Mai yet. Let's say the difference between a Taco Bell dinner and a more expensive restaurant was, let's say, $20. Probably a lot more now, but let's say back then it was $20. We did that maybe 5 times a year for each of the 30 years. In reality, it was a lot more than that. Well, adding all those savings up, that's about $500,000 or $500,000. That's $500,000 we didn't spend. And because we didn't spend our whole paychecks, we didn't live paycheck to paycheck because we spent less than our paycheck, we had extra each month and we banked it. And since we're both obsessive compulsive about that, we banked a lot every month for 30 years. Even just a few dollars put away each month, multiplied by 12, and then multiplied by 30, well, that gave us enough to leave that 9-to-5 world behind much earlier than we would have. We could have traveled a different road, though. I always wanted to buy a beautiful RV. I always dreamed about it. I even went to RV shows to check them out. I never did buy one. If I had, I'd probably still be writing computer code for some company, and Pikun would still be teaching. But we took the road less traveled.